On August 22, 1942, the troops of Field Marshal Friedrich Paulus's 6th Army crossed the Don River. The following day, on August 23, leading elements of the German 16th Panzer Division broke through Soviet defenses and sped north of Stalingrad, reaching the Volga River by midday. From the command tanks, German officers could see the city on the horizon. Confidence ran high. They even sent letters home marked Stalingrad, expecting a swift victory. But the city would soon become known as the Red Verdun, a symbol of desperate, ultimately doomed resistance. Simultaneously, waves of aircraft from the Luftwaffe's 4th Air Fleet under Colonel General Wolfram von Richthofen launched one of the most destructive air raids in the history of the Eastern Front. On August 23, incendiary and high-explosive bombs rained down on the sun-scorched city, igniting vast fires. In just 2 days, Stalingrad suffered more civilian casualties than London did during the entire Blitz. Thousands sought shelter in cellars and tunnels, which soon became vital for the movement of Soviet troops. Much of one of the most beautiful Soviet cities was reduced to ruins in mere hours. Because evacuation was delayed, nearly 40,000 non-combatants died in a single day. Paulus initially believed the burning city would fall easily, but the Germans could not capture Stalingrad with a single blow. By late August, the attacking forces faced fierce counterattacks from General Andrei Yeremenko of the Stalingrad front. Joseph Stalin categorically forbade the surrender of the city, ordering all advances to be stopped at any cost. While the Soviet forces did not push the Germans back from the Volga, they prevented the encirclement of 2 Soviet armies approaching Stalingrad. To break the stalemate, Hitler reinforced the 6th Army at Paulus's request, including 2 panzer divisions from Colonel General Hermann Hoth's 4th Panzer Army, tasked with leading the decisive assault in urban combat. The fate of the city now rested with the hard-pressed 62nd Army, commanded by Lieutenant General Vasily Chuikov. Despite severe losses on the Don River bend, it remained capable of fighting with around 50 operational tanks and 30 more dug in as stationary firing points. Notably, Lieutenant Ivan Lubushkin's entrenched T-34 reportedly destroyed 16 German tanks in a single day, earning legendary status among defenders. Recognizing that the city could not be held indefinitely with existing forces, the Soviet High Command sent key reinforcements on September 9th, Colonel Alexander Rodimtsev's 13th Guards Rifle Division. By the evening of September 12th, Lieutenant General Chuikov assumed command of the battered 62nd Army, which had withdrawn fully into the urban area. Cut off from other Soviet formations, pressed hard by frontal and flanking attacks.
The first full-scale urban assault began on September 14, 1942. German infantry advanced behind a rolling barrage, a tactic refined on earlier fronts. They found a weak link at the exhausted 112th Rifle Division, breaching Soviet lines and advancing toward Mamayev-Kurgan to seize the crucial Volga crossing. Only a few hundred meters of devastated city and the determined stand of Red Army soldiers stood between the Germans and their objective. Every basement, floor, and heap of rubble had become a defensive position. Soviet troops fought with desperate determination. Chuikov was forced to deploy his last reserves, including makeshift combat groups from headquarters personnel. At night on September 15th, about 10,000 troops from Rodimtsev's division crossed the Volga under artillery fire, landing just 100 meters from German positions. It was here that Soviet forces pioneered the tactic of hugging the enemy, maintaining close proximity so as to deny German bombing and artillery the freedom to strike without risking friendly fire.
the crossing became known as the Road of Death. Despite tremendous losses, the Guardsmen managed to push back German units from the crossing, secure the central railway station, and engage in brutal combat for Mamayev Kurgan, a key strategic height hammered by up to 1,000 shells per square meter. In just 5 days, the train station changed hands 15 times. In the south, defenders of the city's grain elevator repelled 10 German assaults on September 18th alone.
The fierce urban battle continued. Despite difficulties, the Soviet Stalingrad front attempted to link up with the city's defenders, but the German forces managed to repel these counterattacks, if only with great difficulty, and their own ability to reinforce the storming units within the city had all but vanished. On September 27th, Paulus launched a second offensive, focused on the city's industrial zone. The Red October steelworks, Barricadi arms factory, and oil depots along the Volga. Chuikov's troops turned these complexes into fortresses, defending in small groups or alone, often cut off from higher command. Although the Red Army's strength was dwindling, combat experience was growing, and new tactical innovations emerged. Ironically, by bombing the city to ruins, the Germans had created obstacles that hampered their own tanks. Piles of rubble became death traps for armored vehicles exposed to Molotov cocktails and fire from above. The fighting was brutal and personal. The German infantry called these tactics rat war, battling for cellars and sewers, ambushed at every turn. Artillery and aircraft proved of limited use as distances between enemy lines shrank to mere meters. Chuikov's preferred tactic, maintaining close contact, forced the Luftwaffe to limit bombing to direct support due to the risk of hitting their own troops. Stuka pilots were stretched to their limits, flying up to 6 combat sorties daily.
Chuikov positioned long-range artillery on the east bank of the Volga, safe from air raids, while only forward observers entered city ruins to direct fire. By October, German forces captured the rail station district, but the crisis was eased when Major General Viktor Zholudev's 37th Guards Rifle Division succeeded in crossing the Volga, immediately entering combat and pushing German troops from the tractor plant. Simultaneously, heavy fighting continued on the Orlovka Ledge, where Colonel Andrei Senko's 115th Rifle Brigade, nearly encircled, held off advances by the German 14th Panzer Corps until October 8. Mid-October brought the third, most brutal German assault, now focused on the tractor plant sector, defended by the 37th Guards Rifle Division. The enemy deployed 3 infantry and 2 panzer divisions. The fresh 138th Rifle Division under Colonel Ivan Ludnikov was approaching the city, but defenders had to hold out. German troops stormed the Barricadi plant, only halted by volleys from Katyusha rocket batteries across the river. German forces reached the Volga, cutting the 62nd Army in two, but never managed to push Red Army troops across the river. Assault units advanced to within several hundred meters of Chuikov's command post. On October 16th, Lutnikov's division completed its crossing and entered combat, fighting to halt the Germans near the Barricadi factory. The fighting continued in the Red October complex. On November 11th, Paulus launched his final assault. German troops reached the Volga and encircled Ludnikov's division, splitting the 62nd Army into 3 isolated pockets. For a month and a half, Ludnikov's island held its ground just 200 meters from the river. Machine gunner Veniamin Rosenberg recalled, "From my position, the Volga was just over 50 meters away." German troops pressed to within 20 meters, and when things became truly desperate, Soviet signalers called artillery down on their own positions. Ferocious combat raged for every wall and ruin. Soon, supply crossings, crucial for munitions and food, were under constant attack, and the Volga began to freeze, leaving air supply as the only link for the beleaguered defenders.
What seemed inevitable was reversed when Soviet reinforcements arrived from the flanks. One German division after another was drawn into the fight. Paulus resorted to deploying elite formations, including armored divisions from Hermann Göring's army. By November, the German advance was stalled. The enemy was forced onto the defensive. Legendary Pavlov's house had completed its 58-day defense. Recaptured in late September by Yakov Pavlov's platoon, the building became a symbol of resistance. Meanwhile, preparations peaked behind Soviet lines for Operation Uranus, the decisive counteroffensive. By mid-November, the Red Army's southwestern and Stalingrad fronts struck at German flanks and completed the encirclement by November 23rd. Hitler forbade Paulus's troops from breaking out, promising air supply that delivered at best a fraction of the necessary 700 tons daily. On February 2nd, 1943, Operation Ring ended with the surrender of Paulus's encircled Sixth Army. The Battle of Stalingrad marked a decisive turning point, not only on the Eastern Front, but in the whole Second World War. The Red Army seized the strategic initiative and held it all the way to Berlin.